I remember the first time it happened. I'm on the couch with one of my kids. I don't remember which one. This was like 5 to 10 years ago because, yes, Home is over 10 years old now. But we're watching Home, the Gorg are closing in. The chase is on. And then it hits. A cacophony of sounds that resemble an angry robot dancing in a mosh pit. A sound that I hadn't heard since the before times. The before I had kids times. Now, if you are a lover of any type of heavy bass music, you already know this face. Shoulders up and bobbing, jaw set like it's 2010 again, and you just heard the sickest transition in a smoke-filled car at 2 a.m. A needle drop in a kid's movie starring Rihanna and Sheldon Cooper reactivated a dormant part of my brain. I actually noticed this pattern before. Same type of drop, same job. Several films that I was forced to watch on repeat during the mid to late 2010s. And a quick disclaimer before we get into it, I'm going to do my best to describe the way that these songs sound to me in words. I'm going to use very inaccurate terminology for things, so I apologize in advance for any inadvertent cringing I may cause, but you know what? This is the video I'm doing for my birthday, so your gift to me is to just sit through all of this. Leos rise up. But by the time that we got to our first film, in 2012, dubstep had already reached its arguable apex. September of 2011, Weetabix Chocolate Spoon Size, a British kid's cereal, runs an ad where a 9-year-old street dancer named Arizona Snow eats a bowl of cereal and pops and locks around her bedroom until the pillows explode. The track is A New World by Fustang. The strapline is Fuel for Fun, and people clock this pretty quick. By that spring, OC Weekly had it on a list called 5 Commercials Ruined by Dubstep, sitting next to a Far Cry 3 trailer and a Southern Comfort ad. Their verdict? Not everything is made better by extra wubbage. In August of that same year, Adweek, the ad industry's own magazine, ran 10 ads that killed dubstep. Kmart, the North Face, discount clothes, Microsoft tablets, flavored booze. No matter how deeply underground its roots run, every musical style is eventually co-opted by the corporate world. So let's start at the beginning. And that is in 1998 with the release of the R-rated film Blade. Just kidding, it's Wreck-It Ralph. So Ralph is the designated bad guy of a 30-year-old arcade game called Fix-It Felix Jr., named after the hero, naturally. Every day, Ralph smashes the building, chipper little Felix fixes it, and then Ralph gets chucked off the roof into the mud. And I mean, after 30 years of that, Ralph is more than done. So when the game throws itself a 30th birthday bash and doesn't invite the guy who does the actual wrecking, the guy on the title of the game. This includes a DJ who suspiciously looks like the vocalist from post-hardcore band From First to Last. Ralph decides that he's gonna go win a gold medal to prove that he's more than just a villain. Ralph ends up breaking out of his own cabinet and drops into the newest, scariest game in the building. A Halo-esque shooter called Hero's Duty, a game whose enemies are called cybugs. These are digital, parasitic aliens with the ability to assimilate anything that they consume. But it's easier to describe the digital world of Hero's Duty as the Halo arcade game, with StarCraft replacing anything Halo. But the build-up in Wreck-It Ralph is very similar to Home, but with Skrillex's signature angry elephant pitches, tones, and screeches. The second that level begins for Ralph and the player character, we are in a straight up Skrillex drop. The song itself isn't anything too crazy, even by Skrillex standards. It's supposed to be video game music, so it's basically the same 30 seconds or so on a loop until the set piece is over. But let me tell you, the first time I heard a quote-unquote certifiable dubstep song in a Disney movie, that felt peak. But what's interesting about the term peak, especially in the way that people use it, is that it actually means that from there, you have nowhere left to go but down. And it's really funny to just think about the reality of this. During the production of Wreck-It Ralph, when they were trying to figure out what the music of Hero's Duty would sound like, somebody asked, what if we asked that dubstep DJ guy from the Grammys? His music kind of sounds like angry digital bugs. And everybody said yes. Nobody blinked, and then the entire room stood up and clapped. That movie executive's name? Albert Einstein. But Skrillex even shows up again at the wedding in the very last scene too, back row and sunglasses still on. I straight up thought that when I found this little trivia tidbit that it must have been like just AI or fake or something, but he really is there. He is just that hard to spot. And yes, you can spend hours talking about how Skrillex was the beginning of the end of quote-unquote true dubstep. I'm not really going to disagree, but I also remember people saying the same thing about Rusko and Caspa and other similar quote-unquote hyper-aggressive brostep artists. And if you want actual documentaries on the history of dubstep, I mean, you can find them easily here on YouTube or through outlets like the BBC. And this isn't even the first time Hollywood tried to ride the EDM wave before it was too late. 2 years before Wreck-It Ralph, Disney released Tron Legacy, which has aged like the finest wine compared to even Tron Ares. But in Legacy, there's a very similar cameo from French electronic music duo Daft Punk. When a fight breaks out on the dance floor, they're the ones who cue the music change to match. Somewhere there was a Disney producer, probably the same one that got Skrillex approved for Wreck-It Ralph, who was clearly in those clubs every single weekend. And I need to shake that man's hand, but after I let him finish wiping his nose with that same hand. That's 2012, before I even knew to look for any of this. It took a few more years before it actually got me at the living room level. Home is about an endearing but inept race of aliens called the Boov, who invade Earth to take cover from their own alien enemies. They move the human race to Australia into prefabricated cities, and they take the rest of the planet for themselves. Then, one hapless Boov accidentally transmits the location of their species to said intergalactic enemies, the Gorg, who are trying to destroy the Boov over a perceived act of war, something that we'll get into later. The Boov that started this chain of events, his name is O. He's called O because that's the sound that everyone makes when he enters a room. He goes on the run from the rest of his kind and runs into a young human girl named Tip, played by Rihanna, who's searching for her mother. And despite how actually kind of hardcore that plot sounds, I promise, this is a kiddie-ass kids movie. So they run for it in Tip's mom's car, which O is rebuilt into a flying car that runs on roller dogs, ice-based drinks, and 7-Eleven dreams. He dubbed it the Slushious. During one of the most memorable set pieces in the film, the Gorg have finally entered the Milky Way galaxy. And note to all future children's movie directors, if you want parents to start really paying attention to your kiddie alien invasion, a shot of their Star Destroyer causing the galactic equivalent of an eraser streak across the rings of Saturn is a damn good way to start. Like, it is just such an impressively cool shot to show that galactic level threat that the Gorg really represent. The buildup in this scene shows other Boovs surrounding O and Tip midair. We're made to think that O and Tip are about to get captured and forced to surrender, but instead the Boov are doing what Boov do best. They run away from the danger. As the ships are flying by, you start hearing the drums with a very groovy yet militant cadence, along with a series of hard, higher-pitched synth lines. In the split second that the peak of that line hits, you hear a low, monotone voice say 2 words.
Drop it.
Gorg. This makes no sense. I stopped the message.
That's when the Gorg drones descend upon the Boov with overwhelming power. And something I just noticed when reviewing the footage, they aren't attacking anyone or anything. They're just kind of aura farming. Slushious is able to take out a drone with the use of their burrito torpedo, and the explosion of said drone damages their ship and sends them hurtling towards the ground. They lost Grape Escape, they lost Tangerine Twist, and the Achilles heel of the whole Slushious chariot is the loss of Busta Limes. They roughly but safely land it in the back mountains of China, and once recovered, they start taking inventory of their situation. That's where Drop That hits the score. It doesn't reach for a brass tab or high-pitched strings. It reaches for full house lights down EDM built into a drop timed second for second to the ship's closing in the distance. Like, that was the scene that caused my stank face at the top of this video. A 90-second scene that I probably spent twice, maybe even 3 times as long explaining and describing to you. But I mean, it was damn good, and it inspired this whole video, and you know what they say about these types of patterns. Once is an incident, twice is a coincidence and 3 times is a trend. So let's talk about Hotel Transylvania 3. So the Hotel Transylvania series is probably known more for introducing all of Gen Z to the allure of goth and alt girls. My generation had the hex girls and scene girls, so who am I to judge? But the series itself is about Dracula running a hotel and his daughter marrying a himbo stoner named Johnny. In movie 3, the monster gang decide to go on a cruise. The captain turns out to be the great-great-granddaughter of Abraham von Helsing, of the famous monster hunting family of lore. And of course, that means that Dracula, being a widowed father himself, starts catching feelings. He gets down bad. They go back and forth, but eventually their will they won't they romance culminates in a not at all subtle baby's day out dance scene where they tango dance through a trap-filled crypt in order to find an artifact that looks like this. I must remind you all that this is a family movie, but good lord, this was not subtle. I might need to blur this.
Oh, that was incredible.
At the climax, Van Helsing pulls out the instrument of destruction and reveals its real purpose: a magic sheet music case. The sheet music within contains a cosmic melody used to turn a docile show tune singing kraken into a rampaging weapon. The song he plays it to is called Seavolution, and the artist of that song is a DJ known as Tiesto. And if the name DJ Tiesto means nothing to you, this isn't just some guy they found on SoundCloud. Billboard calls him the godfather of EDM. Back in 2004, he became the first DJ in history to play at the Olympics, a 90-minute set at the Athens opening ceremony. We're talking about arguably one of the most influential DJs alive right now. Inside the plot, though, it's just a very funny juxtaposition. A 100-plus-year-old villain who looks and sounds like their body would constantly be sampled for EDM tracks uses a dubstep drop as a literal magic weapon. And then the good guys fight back with their music too. They use a song from the 90s about a promiscuous woman who sleeps around with a couple different men. The song, which you've probably guessed by now by my very blatant hint, is the Macarena. This scene is the encapsulation of my entire thesis and even the psychology behind it. I don't have to grasp at straws or think of a good metaphor because the movie itself is the metaphor out loud on screen. It is literally a metaphor. And in doing my due diligence, I did try to find the most recent example of this specific type of movie set piece that I could find. And it pretty much died off with like the very loose exception of Trolls World Tour all the way back in 2020. Because yes, Trolls World Tour came out 6 years ago. A tribe of old school boomer rock trolls embark on a crusade to unite the trolls world. The movie actually starts making an interesting statement about how pop music commercializes other genres of music, but instead they force everyone to hold hands and sing and do a big dance party in the credits scene before that idea ever really gets explored. But mid-drop, literally mid-drop, there's even a button that looks like he's about to just like brick himself. Queen Barb and the hard rock trolls end up crashing the party, smash the DJ booth with their noise marine guitars, and demand Trollex hand over his magic string, probably giving some trolls the worst case of glitter dumplings ever. But I think it's kind of funny how our last dying gasp actually starts in Techno Reef, an underwater rave city, with King Trollex of the Techno Trolls about to drop his song for his people. The mix itself is still pretty good though. It's Daft Punk one more time. I'm not gonna lie, it would slap at a show. Like, we have a movie doing a Skrillex reference premiering in 2020. We have a techno reference in 2020. As the kids would say, yeet this baby gronk, it's not just cooked, it's chopped. Or as we would say in my generation, stein me down on the runny kind. So why did this specific sound keep getting reached for as a audio motif for things like monsters? It's baked into where the genre came from and into what movie music is for in the first place. Let's start with the part nobody says out loud because it sounds rude. A film score's whole job is to tell you how to feel before the scene has earned it. 2 notes and you know something's underwater. A string swell and you know that they're about to kiss. You have been trained on this since you were old enough to sit through a movie, and it works on you every single time, even when you see it coming. Dubstep is already made out of all those parts. Nobody had to adapt it for film. It showed up pre-assembled. And it's also worth just saying really quickly, really out loud, just like American rock and roll, the dubstep in these movies and just dubstep in general actually has really interesting black music in its roots. The garage and jungle scenes of Black Britain across the 80s and 90s laid the foundation for this genre that we're talking about. It's a very similar story that I told in my Black History of Rock and Roll video, and actually in my Black History of K-pop video as well. Another piece of Western Black history that kinda got obfuscated by the end result of the sound that got popular. So dubstep was born dark. Croydon, South London, early 2000s. It's got dub reggae sound system DNA in it. Bass that you can feel with your chest, not bass that you hum along to. The early stuff, Burial, Digital Mystikz, was nocturnal. It was very brooding, genuinely menacing on some levels on purpose. Then Americans got a hold of it and cranked every knob to 11. You've seen this before. The original British version of The Office, the best version, gets a louder American remake. It almost happened to the IT crowd too. Dubstep got the same treatment, and the American remake is called brostep. Skrillex's Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites, 2010. People would say that this was the moment everything changed. The song was the aggressive growing mutation, the one everyone actually pictures when they hear the word dubstep. 2 Grammys in 2012. Some of you guys are already worried about it. What's actually in these movies is technically the mutation, the brostep stuff. So if you're worried about me making that distinction, I went ahead and made it. And let's just all take a minute to appreciate how this all started with a girl that was just stacking cups really quickly in her bedroom. And here's a funny little detail that I never really noticed until recently, that the record that took dubstep mainstream in America is literally named after monsters and cute little sprites. Scary but adorable, epic but fun. The entire kids movie formula was pre-primed on the genre's own flagship release before a single animator ever touched it. And no, that's not me saying that the Skrillex is some fucking industry plant. And the toolbox for doing that is smaller than you think. You build tension, you release it, you put the dangerous thing down in the low end. You make a sound your body reads as wrong. That's the trick, that's the prestige. Every dubstep track already has a very similar job in these kids' movies. The similar method of tension and release, just wired to the opposite emotion. In music theory, low frequencies are used to drive slow dread and a sense of scale. Something huge. A shriek or a sudden upward pitch drives sharp panic. Something's about to get you right now. Dubstep works almost entirely in that first register, the low end. So what it's actually telling your body is something enormous is coming, not someone is screaming, which, if you think about it, is exactly the register a monster's approach needs, and it's exactly why it survives the trip into a kids movie. The drop is the jump scare, and in my opinion, in a lot of ways, a dubstep song is really just that. It knows how to build to that one big moment, that one big release, which means that the track is already shaped like the climax of an action scene before Hollywood got near it. A composer scoring a set piece has to construct that. Dubstep just hands it to you pre-built, and your nervous system has known that a lot longer than movies have existed. French extremist film Irreversible ran an actual 27Hz tone under a whole stretch of the film specifically to put dread in the audience, below what most people can consciously hear. Infrasound studies report most people getting chills and chest pressure off frequencies they can't even identify as sound. The exact nervous system trigger that horror horror weaponizes is reused in dubstep as hype. The something's large and dangerous is approaching alarm and the party euphoria payoff on the exact same beat. And that's how you sell a kraken to a 6-year-old. Which brings me to that scene in Home, the drop that one, the stank face. What's really interesting in the movie, by the end of the movie, spoilers for Home, the gorg were coming for the booth over that perceived act of war I mentioned earlier. So here's that act of war. At the start of the movie, the booth captain, Captain Smek, he has a little rock that he carries around like a good luck charm. He waves it at crowds. It's a total prop. And late in the film, O figures out what it actually is. It's the gorg's egg. Every gorg that will ever exist is inside it. Smek didn't win a battle. He grabbed the shiniest thing on the shelf and ran, and it happened to be an entire species worth of children. So the gorg chasing that little car across the sky is the last one of his kind, and he has spent the whole movie trying to get his kids back. And it was scoring a grieving dad that was looking for his children. The booth were the monsters the whole time. I'm mostly kidding, mostly. And there was one thing that I ended up having wrong when I started digging into this. I assumed that these were old songs that were licensed, that the movie found a hit and they borrowed, which is how movie music worked when I was a kid. It turns out it's not actually the case. These songs weren't found in the ethos of late night clubs in LA. They were ordered. They hired the architects of the sound and used them as the sound effect. As I mentioned earlier, they flipped the label to go from terror to be to euphoria, but then they also added something else on top of that. They added it as a punchline, which is what it eventually became. And anyone who was there for the first two, that third label reads as exactly one thing. Hello, fellow kids. And also, really interesting to note, this exact scene premiered in 30 Rock the exact same month that Skrillex swept the Grammys. Because the universe is just funny like that sometimes. So my kids aren't missing something here. They're not too young to get it. They hear a gimmick because a gimmick is precisely how the movie ended up using this music. They're reading it correctly because that was how it was laid out. I like to think of it as the reverse scene that everyone knows from Back to the Future. You know, the prom scene. Marty plays Johnny Be Good 20 years too early and the room just stares at him. And then he says the very infamous line, I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet, but your kids are going to love it. And these movies played my kids something real many years too late. And then it was labeled as a joke, as a punchline. And the thing that got on that train in Croydon that was nocturnal, that was brooding, that was menacing on purpose, it got off as the noise that a cartoon monster makes. That was the last stop. That's always the last stop in capitalism. So going back to the couch that we started from, the gorg, the drop, the stank face, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this is bad or somebody should have done it differently. And because of this genre, my kids aren't scared of the monster. The drop already told them that despite the fear, it's going to be fun. And in 20 years, my kids are going to be somewhere they aren't expecting, a commercial, a grocery store, some movie that they're watching with their own kids, and they're going to experience a needle drop that's going to hit them really hard, and they're going to feel something warm and stupid and specific that they can't account for. Also, before we wrap up, yes, I know seavolution is technically more big room house than dubstep, and drop that isn't clean UK dubstep either. Come on, people. It's my birthday. Don't be pedantic. But if you still want to leave a comment, I appreciate the algorithm boost. So I wanted to do something a little bit different for my now going to be a yearly tradition, maybe birthday video. And because of the fact that I have to spend so much time watching the same kids movies over and over again with my youngest kid, I have a lot of really random thoughts and observations that I need to put out there into the universe so they can just be purged in my brain forever. So this is very cathartic for me. So let me know what you think. Let me know what other kids movies you guys want me to look at. I know Ron's Gone Wrong is on the list. I hear you. I see you every time. And we're going to have a few more gaming videos. I have a lot of tech stuff that I am going to be doing this fall. I have gone down several rabbit holes over the past few weeks, and I have a lot of exciting stuff. But I want to finish the gaming stuff first because that is what I committed to. So we're going to get that done, and I'm going to be prepping a shit ton of scripts. It's going to be fun. I am actually probably going to put a director's cut of this video on Patreon So if you want to see it with the unedited music, whatever cuts that I took out, whatever, the Patreon version is going to be longer. So if you're watching this on Patreon, guess what? You're watching the longer version, and the one on YouTube is going to be shorter. So I'll probably put the whole thing for free on after a week or two. We'll see. But yeah, anyways, that is it. I want to get this video done. I am going to take my kids to see Spider-Man. I'll probably have a little mini review about that, just either as a post or maybe I'll do that as a Patreon video too. But anyways, I will talk to you guys in the next one. Let me know what you think. I love you all. With my kids going back to school soon in a few weeks, we're going to be picking up the pace again, kind of trying to get back into a groove of things. I have a lot I want to talk to you guys about, so it'll be cool. But until next time, see you guys. Bye. Like and subscribe, please, especially because I'm posting more every 2 weeks instead of every fortnight. And yeah, I will stop blabbering now. Okay, bye.